Hello everyone, this is Ann Nicole with Canterbury Card Designs, and I'm part of the creative crew over at Kat Scrappiness. Today I'm going to show you how to create this pretty winter scene with a few of the new products from the Kat Scrappiness holiday release and a couple of the old products as well. So first I'm creating a watercolor panel, and I've sped this up for you a little bit. I'm just laying down different shades of blue, a little bit of black up at the top to get a dark winter nighttime scene. Now I'm going to take the Cardinal Birch Bliss stencil, tape my watercolor paper down, and then tape the stencil on top. You want to make sure that your watercolor is really dry so that the watercolor paper doesn't just soak up the Distress Oxide ink. Now I'm going to take some Distress Oxide inks. I'm going to be using Tumble Glass, Picket Fence, and Festive Berries for the birds. So I'm primarily using Picket Fence, and I'm laying down a couple layers. I've sped this up for you as well. Picket Fence up towards the top, and then I kind of layered some Tumble Glass down at the bottom just so that you could really see the trees, because the watercolor that I laid down at the bottom was a little bit lighter. And then I'm using, again, the Festive Berries for the cardinals. So I'm going to peel off my stencil. Now I'm going to be taking the Crafters Essentials Winter Dies, and I'm going to be using those two hills. So I'm going to die cut these out of white cardstock. What I'm going to do first, as you'll see here, is I'm going to take some embossing ink. I'm going to lay that down. Just getting all my supplies out here first. I'm going to be using pearl powders from Kat Scrappiness in dark blue and white silver. So I just want to get those out before I put my Versamark down on my panel. So I'm going to lay the Versamark ink down, and it doesn't have to be anything pretty. I'm just going to tap it down. You want to, of course, do it, a large enough area so that your die will fit on it. But I'm just going to lay this down, and then I'm going to take a brush, and I am going to sprinkle the embossing or the pearl powders on there. I'm going to tap it off, and then I'm going to use a paintbrush to spread it around and make sure the whole panel that I want is covered. And you really only need a tiny bit. That's what I love about these. They really go a long way. So these jars of pearl powders will last you for years, most likely. So once I have that down, look at how pretty that shimmer is. I'm going to take this and I'm going to dump it back into the container, because I have a lot of cats who like to jump on my craft area, so I always want to make sure I put it back first so it doesn't create a huge mess for me. And now I'm going to create the second hill. So again, just laying down that VersaFine embossing ink. I'm going to start again with the same white silver pearl powder. I'm going to do the same thing, but this is going to be my background hill, so this is the one that I'm going to add the dark blue to. So same process. I'm just using a sheet of copy paper folded in half so that it makes dumping this back into the little jar easier. And you can see I don't have VersaFine ink on every single, the entire thing isn't covered, and that's just fine. That's okay. So now I'm going to very carefully dip into the blue, and I'm just going to spread it out. I'm just doing a couple little sections. And you can see it spreads out pretty nicely. And I'm just going to keep kind of rubbing it in until it's blended. It's, personal preference. Until it's as dark, you leave it as dark, or blend it to be as light as you want. But you can see I really hardly used any there. And this is going to be the hill in the foreground. Now I'm going to take the other panel and I'm just going to do a couple little splotches on here. And then again, I'm going to close up that jar and I'm going to toss my paper. And now I'm going to die cut these panels. So now I have my die cut panels, and you can see I'm using the darker one in the background. Now I'm going to cut my panel down. So I'm just using my trimmer, and I'm going to cut a little bit off so that it will fit on my card. And you can see here, I just kind of played with it. This is not a traditional A2 size card, but it's not a 5x7 card either. Sort of made it a custom size, really more like a 4.5x6 card. So you can see here, I kind of thought back and forth, like, how big do I really want to make it? Because I really didn't want to cut off too much of those birch trees, because I just thought they were so pretty. So I think this looks good. And you can really see that tumbled glass ink on the lower part of the panel. Just turned out so pretty. I love the stencil. So now I'm going to position the hills on there until I get them kind of how I want them. And I just think this pearl powder makes for a great sparkling snow scene. So now we'll get these adhered, and then we'll cut off the edges. So I'm going to use some liquid adhesive. I had a little technical, well, I guess not technical, but a little glitch here with my Barely Art glue. It was not coming out of the bottle, so I had to use the pin to unclog it there for a second. So now I'm just going to glue these panels down. And you can see the tape from where I die cut the panel is on there, and that's okay, no big deal, doesn't matter. And I'm going to lay this second down, and then we'll flip this over and we will cut it off. Look at the nice shimmer on those pearl powders. Just love that. So now we'll cut off the pieces on the side, being very careful not to cut my fingers. Look at how adorable that turns out. I love that. Just beautiful. Try to get a little bit more of a closer look there so you can see how the blue really blends in nicely to the white silver. So now I'm going to find some cardstock. I'm going to take some white gouache, mix it up with a little bit of water, and we'll make a little bit of snow in the background here. So you just get that mixed to the consistency that you like, and we'll just flick it on the background. If you're enjoying this video, I hope you hit the like button and also subscribe so you'll be notified when new content is released. Join us over at katscrappiness.com to check out this new release, and subscribe to our newsletter too. So I mixed up a little bit more and then grabbed a bigger brush and went back to get some bigger flecks on the background. And again, this is your personal choice, whatever you like. You don't even have to add the snow if you don't want to. I just think this is such an adorable winter scene. So now we're going to grab a cardstock. And how I make a custom card is I just kind of, I don't measure. You see, I don't ever use a ruler. I just kind of eyeball it where I want to score it and where I want to cut it. So then we'll go ahead and we'll cut this to size. And now I'm going to, I decided that I wanted to put a little dimension on this, and that purpose is kind of twofold. One, when you have a watercolor panel, a nice way to take out any warping is to use some foam adhesive on the background. That takes out any warping, makes it nice and flat when you adhere to your cardstock to your card base. I also just decided that I thought that this panel would look really pretty with a little dimension on top of the card base. So I'm putting all of my foam adhesive on the back. Making careful that I kind of have the whole card covered so there's no little dips in it. So I put a little extra adhesive on there in the middle. Sometimes if you don't cover the whole panel, when you do adhere to the card base, you get a little bit of a sag in the middle there. And I want this to be maintained, the dimension to be maintained when I put it in the mail, when it gets to the recipient. So I'm going to take all of the release paper off. And then we'll adhere this to the card base. Sometimes what I like to do before I adhere this to the card base is I like to put a little bit of liquid adhesive on top of this. Gives you a little extra squiggle room so that if you don't get it down on the card base exactly where you want it, you kind of have another couple of seconds to play with it and move it. So we'll get this down on our card base. And some more difficulties with my glue. So we'll just put a little liquid adhesive on this. Pop this on the card base, and basically our card for today is done. So again, if you enjoyed this video, I hope that you will hit the like, hit the subscribe button, pop on over to Kat Scrappiness and check out this huge, wonderful new holiday release. And subscribe to our newsletter. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Catch you again in another video real soon. Bye-bye.